Welcome into a For What It's Worth quick take episode number 12, and we are going to be discussing the NCAA men's basketball tournament, more specifically what we saw in the Duke and Houston game in that Final Four. What a matchup. Just what a fantastic game. Actually, both Final Four matchups were just absolutely amazing. But like I said, I really want to focus on the Duke and Houston one because I have just a question that was pondering my mind throughout the night that I want to get to an answer. And we are also going to be talking about the championship and who I have holding up that trophy this season. But before we even dig into all the excitement, go ahead, if you are listening on YouTube, to just at the moment pause the video, hit subscribe, leave a comment, and just share your thoughts on what I'm about to share in this episode at the end. I love to hear your guys' feedback. If you're listening on Spotify, also do the same. Go ahead, hit pause, and then go ahead and follow. Give us 5 stars and send the link out to all your friends and family. We're also on X and Instagram as FWIW Sports Pod. We are also on TikTok as FWIW Sports. So we're everywhere. So go ahead, like, subscribe, favorite, do whatever you guys can on whatever social media you're on. Like I said, really appreciate it. All right, let's jump into the action. I said I had a question that I had been pondering, and this question is, did Duke blow the game or did Houston win? And it comes down to the fact that Duke blew it. And here's why. Let's start with Cooper Flagg. Your National Player of the Year, your potential number 1 pick in the NBA draft if he decides to go. Finished with 27 points. He was perfect at the free throw line. 8 of 19, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. Not terrible, 27 points. That's pretty good in a Final Four matchup against a Houston squad who we'll get to in a second and talk about how impressive their defense has been, but 27 points is good. Now, he did have a missed jumper with 8 seconds left. That could have won it, but, not everyone's perfect. Not everyone can be clutch. I mean, this kid should still be in high school. He should be a senior in high school. So we can't, the clutch gene can still develop, and it wasn't the worst shot ever. However, though, your National Player of the Year went over 7 minutes without a field goal. From 10:31 to about 3:03, he went without a field goal. Your star player. I mean, and he started off the second half strong, too. It's not like, he just went off in the first half and the second half was just nothing. Momentum got away from him or the break was too long or whatever. No, he came out strong in that second half, just as he did the first. So your player of the year isn't showing up when he needs to in the most crucial spot. Now, he did have a clutch 3-pointer at that 3:03 mark that, that broke the drought, made it, I think, 64-55. But then after that, he couldn't close. He missed that jumper with 8 seconds left. He didn't have another shot in between then. From 3:03 to the end, he had that missed jumper with 8 seconds left, but had nothing else left. Or maybe it was about 11 to 8. Nothing else. National Player of the Year. Now, I'm not hating on the guy. I'm not. Like I said, he should be a senior in high school, and he's playing at a very high level. I mean, from what we saw him slipping, early on in the season to where he developed and got to at the end in 1 year, 1 season, very impressive. It's just, when you're the National Player of the Year, when you're the potential number 1 NBA pick, I would expect you to be able to at least get a basket in a 7-minute period. Couldn't do that. Now, of course, it wasn't all Cooper Flagg, and Cooper Flagg shouldn't take all the blame because there was a lot of costly turnovers or just missed opportunities, especially that last 8 minutes of the second half. And these turnovers or these opportunities, they gifted Houston the game. Let's start with Mason Gillis and his technical at about the 8-minute mark. Gets hit with the technical foul for the swing elbow. We know how that is. That led to a made free throw and a jumper off a missed second one. So there's 3 points right there. Tugler, he had the technical after he slapped the ball away on the inbounds, went over the line. So Knippel made only 1 free throw. So it was 67-61. But because he only made 1, you couldn't go up, by 7. You're only up by 6. So Emmanuel Sharp went down. He hit a 3-pointer, and that cut it to 3 points. Tyrese Proctor, he had a turnover at the 137 mark. Zion James, he had a turnover at the second mark due to Houston's stifling defense. And then also you had Tyrese Proctor, who missed a free throw at the 19-second mark. So Duke was still up. Proctor got fouled, went to the line, missed. 5 turnovers from Duke in the last 10:30. The team made 2 field goals in the last 13 minutes, and they got iced out in the final 3. So yes, and I'm not saying at all, too, that Houston doesn't deserve credit somewhere or in some form or fashion. I'll jump to that here in a little bit. This defense obviously is top ranked, top notch, creme de la creme, all that jazz, right? So they did play a part in it, but this was a total breakdown from Duke, especially missing your free throws. If there is one point in time of a basketball season that you cannot miss free throws, it is in March. Let's continue on with why Duke lost this game or blew this game, not necessarily why Houston won. You had poor blob execution, baseline out of bounds plays, poor blob execution against the press. And my question is, as Duke has a number 1 seed, how do you not prepare for this moment in a Final Four? You know a team's going to press you if it's a close game, like if they have to come back and it's a close game towards the end. It's the tournament. It's win or go home. There's no other game after this or whatever. You don't pack the bags home and get on the plane in the next couple days for another conference game. No, it's, you know, teams are going to press you to try to get you out of your system to flip the game quickly. You know this, Duke. So why were your plays, why was your execution so poor, so bad? Terrible. It looked like I was drawing out those plays to be ran. Duke couldn't adjust, or they didn't adjust, and they have NBA talent out there. I just don't know how you don't have elite plays ready for a moment like that. Now you also have, now this one isn't really on Duke per se, but it did hurt him, and it was the soft foul on flag with 19 seconds left off the missed one. 1-1. Got whistled for over the back on Jawan Roberts. A great box out. Reached over, tipped it. You can't call that. That is a play on there, because then Houston went down and hit the free throws to take the lead. Roberts made both. So that is a situation. 1, it's a very, very soft call. 2, it's a very, very soft call in a Final Four. So what does that mean? That means 3, you don't call it. You do not call it. You do not let something so small like that, so insignificant like that, determine a Final Four outcome. Because Duke wouldn't even gotten, if they didn't call the foul on flag, Duke still wouldn't have gotten the ball. So Houston still would have had, to try to score. Let it play out that way. You don't gift them the 2 free throws to ultimately win it. Now, they did have a chance. Flag missed. But you don't call that foul in that situation. It was very soft, and it frankly determined the game. And ultimately, stats just tell the collapse of this story. They led by 13 with 8:17 left. They had a 98.5 win probability, according to ESPN at that time. Houston closed on a 25-8 run. They had that 9-0 run in the 33 seconds. And get this, Duke was 79-0 under John Shire, went up 10 points, 10 plus points up to that point. 79-0. That is a collapse. They were literally perfect, went up by 10 under him. They don't mess up double-digit leads. They don't. This was a fluke. Duke blew this. Duke also is the only team to lose an NCAA tournament game, you ready? With a higher field goal percentage, more free throw attempts, more assists, fewer turnovers, and more steals than their opponent. Teams were 300-0 prior to Houston's win on Saturday. Absolute collapse from Duke. And like I said, Houston deserves credit. LJ Cryer's heroics, their defense, and Kelvin Sampson's resilience. Houston had been there before. They were down 6 with 10 seconds left versus Kansas this year. They forced double overtime and won. You had this game down 14-13 where they had to come back. 33 or 9-0 run in under a minute. They never quit. So now that we know that Duke ultimately blew this game, we now know the matchup. Florida versus Houston. So the question is, who wins the national championship? If it was Duke versus Florida, I would go Duke. If it's Houston versus Florida, I think I'll go Houston. I don't think I like Florida in either matchup necessarily, and I think Houston takes this one too. Houston's number one defense, I think it's just going to smother the Gators offense. Like I mentioned, Houston enters this game with the top adjusted defensive efficiency, 87.4 points per 100 possessions, that's according to Ken Palm. So that's just a brick wall that has suffocated every opponent, not only this tournament, but this season. And speaking of the tournament, they've proven how stifling that defense is against their opponents. Obviously, just demolished their first round, opening round contest. But then they held Gonzaga, who averages 86 points per game, to 76. They held Purdue, who averages 77 to 60. They held Tennessee, who averages 74 to 50, and Duke, who averaged 83 to 67. Florida averages 85 points per game. Houston has held foes to an average of 58.3. That's the best in college basketball. That's also a 26.7 point drop off from where Florida averages. Will it be that much of a difference in this game? Probably not. Don't expect Florida's offense to be as efficient as it's been, at least from a scoring standpoint. Kelvin Sampson's crew, of course, forced Duke into those 5 turnovers in the last 10:30. They held their National Player of the Year, Cooper Flagg, nearly scoreless the last 10:30. So what makes you think that they can't guard Walter Clayton Jr.? They're going to be able to hold him down. Now, I know he's been going off, posting back-to-back 30-point games in the Elite Eight and the Final Four, first since Larry Bird in 1979. But that's what I'm saying. He's the first to do it since 1979. This is historic. Are we really expected him to do it 3 tournament games in a row, now a championship, against Houston's defense? I'm not quite sure that task will be fulfilled, especially we saw what they did to Cooper Flagg. Now, Cooper Flagg started off very well. They were able to adjust and either wear him down or just able to limit him. Florida's offense thrives on rhythm. Obviously, Houston's going to disrupt that, not only with their physicality and length, but also with their pace, which we'll get to in a second. Like I mentioned, Walt Clayton Jr. facing a tall task. Houston's not Auburn. This is just a different beast, swarming, relentless, and the most important, experience. I just don't think he can pull off 3 straight tournament games where he is doing, the first since 1979. I just don't know if he's going to be quite there. But LJ Cryer for Houston will be an X factor. 26 points versus Duke, 6 of 9 from threes, hit 3+ triples in 3 of the 5 tournament games, and he hit 3+ triples in 13 of his last 19 since Big 12 play. Houston's also lived off the 3 ball, 38% in the tournament from deep, 42% from deep over the last 3 games. So they've just been really efficient, really finding that shot right now. Florida's D, they rank 26 in adjusted efficiency. Not bad, not elite. And they've allowed 37.1% from 3 this tournament. Houston shot 45.5% versus Duke from deep, which is still an insane stat for me. They've shot 39% all season. Houston has. So they thrive outside. Florida's bigs are going to clog the paint, and that's fine because Houston's going to kill you from outside. Gators ranks 62nd in opponent 3-point defense, so definitely can be exposed. As I kind of mentioned with the defense, it's true for the offense as well, as this is a veteran-led squad. 18 straight wins. They faced every test. I was talking about down, to Kansas, down 14 to Duke. They've been in every situation possible. They're all experienced. It's in their DNA to close out games. If it's going to be a close game against Florida, especially with Kelvin Sampson's experience in these situations, I expect Houston to be the more calm or just team that's more reliable in that moment. And now let's get to pace, because I mentioned that earlier, that Florida loves speed. 42nd in possession length, 59th in adjusted tempo. They want the transition buckets. Houston, number 2 defensively, they grind it out. 350th in possession length, 360th in tempo. So they're going to slow down the pace. Florida wants to pick it up. I think that's going to disrupt Florida more than, Florida can disrupt Houston. Florida's offense stalled versus Auburn when Clayton sat. So if you're expecting him to play, or if you expect this offense to go 100% all the time, you're going to want him out there as much as you can. That's only going to tire him. So you want to take him out so he's not so tired, but then the offense stalls. I think Houston can take advantage of that. And like I said, their experience, they're not just going to let one man try to carry it, or they're not going to just let one man be the show. It's going to be a team effort. And I have Houston winning against Florida, and they will be this year's champions. Well, that is a For What It's Worth quick take episode number 12. As I mentioned, I'm your host, Calvin Silvers. Go ahead, like, subscribe, follow us on YouTube and Spotify. Just type in For What It's Worth. We're on Instagram and X at FWIW Sports Pod, and we're also on TikTok at FWIW Sports. And while you're at it, go ahead and just tell me who you think is going to win in the comments down below. Until next time, have a good one.